Thank you. And thank you very much, Charlie, for inviting me. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. As Charlie said, I'm at London College of Fashion. I'm a psychologist, I'm a cognitive psychologist, so not a therapist, cognitive psychologist, working in the arena of bringing psychology to the fashion industries. And it's quite a novel enterprise and quite surprising when you think about it that no one's done it before, because both psychology and fashion are about people. Without doubt, you know, whether we think we're fashionable or not, we all wear clothes. So fashion affects us all, whether we like it or not. So prior to becoming a psychologist, I worked in computer science. And my PhD was in cognitive neuroscience, so I've got a real mixture of backgrounds. And before that, my first job was as a window dresser, which is now called a visual merchandiser, working in fashion, and also made clothes when I was a dressmaker. So when you get old like me, you have a lot of history and a lot of life behind you. So I've done a lot of things, and this kind of brings it all together, and it's such an honor to be here tonight, really, for an opportunity to bring all these aspects together. So I'm talking tonight as someone who works at London College of Fashion, but as a psychologist as well, primarily a psychologist. So here we have some images of fashion tech, so technology applied in the fashion arena. And I think you'll agree, some of the images are absolutely beautiful, but the functionality of them isn't that great. This image here is of a prosthetic leg, you might see, which is beautifully designed rather than the medical model of a prosthetic. It can be beautiful, and there is a course at London College of Fashion where prosthetics are designed for performance, but could be applied in the real world to people with amputations or lost limbs through trauma. So some of these images we'll talk more about later on, but the designs you can see are from a show called Make Fashion. All of them are applying technology. And fashion has become kind of stale, and lots of designers feel that fashion has become stale. It's a little bit old-fashioned, and in fact it's churning over and over fashions that were around in the 60s, the 70s, 80s. I'm not sure what's in now. I think it's the 80s. I think perms are going to come back. Certainly big shoulders and that kind of look for fashion. So it's just churning it over, and fashion needs to move on. Fashion needs to take a lesson, but also technology needs fashion. And this is a quote from the Vice President of Intel's New Devices Group, which was quoted in the Wall Street Journal. We desperately need the fashion industry. It understands the aesthetic sense, but also it's very much in tune with why a woman would wear something on her body. Okay, and also in tune with why a man would wear something on his body, I would add. And obviously, I didn't say this quote, but it tells you something about the tech industry and the importance of design, and about the adoption of the devices that you were talking about before. And the main points that both speakers made and the questions that came after them was, where is the adoption? Where is this feeling that we want to use these devices, so we want them to be part of our lives? Both speakers touched on that, with personalization and with this feeling of worrying less about the people that you have to care for. So there's a gap, and one of the speakers, or one of the people who was asking questions, can't remember who, said it's more complex than that, and it is very, very complex. The technology is complex, the psychology is complex, the social aspects are complex. So here we have some statistics around the sales of wrist-worn devices and how they have increased from 2014 to 2015. They've increased 118%, and you can see on the graph here, 2014 at the bottom, 91% were fitness bands, and 9% were the smartwatches. In 2015, the fitness band sales had decreased in relation to the smartwatches. Well, obviously, there's more smartwatches now. They're becoming cheaper. They're becoming more attractive, and so on. Nevertheless, when people were asked what were the important features of these devices, sorry, I can't see you if I take my glasses off, and I can't see the screen if I put them on, so I'm struggling here. So, and this is very small on this screen here. So, first of all, 17% said they wanted compatibility with other devices, and one of the other speakers mentioned that before. 19% wanted accuracy and reliability of the measurements.
And you can look at that screen.
Oh, okay. Well,
is that easier? You just
okay. Well, yeah. Sorry. 21% said they wanted fashion over function. So there's some kind of issue here, because although, you know, where older people care more about function, younger people, and the majority of users are younger people, care more about the fashion aspect of it. 22% wanted the device to be waterproof, and 39% were concerned about the battery life. So the technology around having long-lasting batteries is really important, and it's really difficult. And it's not just about having the battery having long life, it's where do you charge it, how do you charge it, and can you have flexible batteries? So if the technology is to be embedded in the materials that are to be made for the fashion items, then the flexible batteries, the fibers, need to be developed, and they are being developed, I believe, that fit in the fibers and that can be used for smartwear around clothing. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we know what consumers want, but their needs are not being met. So of an analysis that was conducted with more than 2,000 wrist device users, 59% said they worried about the security of their personal data that was stored on the wearable device or from the wearable device. 51% said they couldn't see the benefit. What value would it add to their daily life? 39% believed that the wearable tech was an invasion of privacy. And 60% said they would be interested in receiving at least one type of alert, but wouldn't want to be bombarded with information or with alerts all the time. And if I had an alert for every email that came in, I would be going crazy. I mean, my wrist device wouldn't stop. So being able to choose what alerts people can access is something that the consumer wants. So the type of alert, 26% wanted a summary of their health status. 26% also wanted to know when emails were coming in, text calls, and calendar reminders. And 15%, wanted notifications when their friends were nearby. So building in these kind of desires into the devices is something to help people adopt them better and for a longer term. So here are some stats from 2014. In 2014, 1 in 10 American citizens over 18 owned an activity device, and that must have increased massively by 2016. And yet, this chart here, and I won't go through all the figures, shows the decrease in usage over a period of time. And by the 6 months of having the activity device, 50% of users have stopped using it. They've either abandoned it or just stopped using it. But there is an argument that it's not just they're fed up with the device. It could be that they've progressed beyond their original goal. They've moved up to a better or a different device, moved on to something different. So it's not as clear-cut as it appears there. Nevertheless, the trend is that people have these devices and they tend not to use them very much. They sit in the drawer with the Rosetta Stone. So why aren't they being used long term? Okay. In a survey conducted by DKV, a recent survey, they found that men found trackers difficult to use, but also just not motivating. And women said they don't have time for them, or they actually said they lose them. In another survey by Lux, they found that wearables need to go beyond the data collection, and this is what Tyler said, and provide advice to support personal improvement and excellence. They need to go further. It's not enough just to tell people, give them statistics. And I think that's what we saw previously. Giving people charts and data isn't enough. People want to know how to move on from that, how to build that information into their lives. They need that in a simple, accessible way. And here is an image of a device which is accessible and apparently monitors not only your biological and physical data, but also motivates you and has all sorts of other functionality. Huge growth is predicted in this area, 20.8% compound annual growth rate between now and 2025. So in 2015, the tech industry was worth $26.19 billion. In 2029, it's predicted to be worth $170.91 billion. So huge growth. Whereas health and medical devices were the largest share in 2015, by 2016 and increasingly until 2025, it will be the fashion and lifestyle areas that will grow the most. So what can we learn from fashion? Why do people buy fashion? Why do they like fashion? Well, whether we actually like it or not, fashion is a huge global industry. It's the second most important global economy. In the UK alone, it's worth more than £26 billion a year. It employs hundreds of thousands of people in the UK and millions of people across the world. So it's a really important industry. We use clothes to change our identity, to show who we are, to project an image to people that we hope will match the image that we want to project. Clothing is a very important part of our identity, of our being, of our personality. And clothes are our second skin. And with wearable devices, we want them to be our second skin. We don't want the pendant hanging around the neck that we've heard that the people take off or don't want to use, or displays that a person is frail or is in need, or to have a device that shouts out that you're not well or you're different. People don't want that. People want something that is subtle and discreet. So here we have a ring which alerts the wearer for texts or messages, incoming calls. It also monitors other physiological data as well. We have this jacket here by Lyle and Scott in connection with Barclays, where the wearer can pay with his or her sleeve rather than having a card, get a card out. With this Levi's, so this is a sleeve from a jacket from Levi's, and Project Jacquard, it's called a commuter trucker jacket, and that jacket allows the wearer to listen to music, to podcasts, to anything else on their phone, and it can be controlled through Siri, so you don't need the hands on with that. And then we have a very simple, very cheap bracelet, which would appeal to, I imagine, young teenagers, girls particularly. And this is a Topshop pay band, where you get the band, it's about £13, and you can pay with it. So buy a lot of things with that. So this is the way that fashion is taking technology to the people. This is what I think is a beautiful dress. It's designed by Cute Circuit, who you may or may not have heard of. They make the most incredible, beautiful dresses, lit by LED and Swarovski crystals. And when people tweet with a hashtag, it shows across the dress. So it's very beautiful and very fun, if you like. And quite unique. They also make bags which have the tweets go around the bag, not only on the front of the bag, very cleverly, so the bag is like a small box shape, and if somebody tweets to the person who's got the bag, the tweet comes across the front of the bag and wraps around the back. It's lovely. Well, if you're a woman, you might appreciate it more, but trust me, it's lovely. I believe we're going from the information age to the social age. People are social beings, and this was the first point that the first speaker made, that we are social beings. We're not isolated people. We need the social engagement. We want to belong. We need to belong. And so we're moving from the information age, where data gathering is the be-all and end-all, to this, what do we do with the data to enable us to facilitate our social engagement, to make our lives better. So this is a 3D printed dress, which senses when people are nearby. It's called a gaze. So it senses when people are nearby, and these actual, well, that image shows it more, these kind of points on it stand up when people come by, and it's kind of protection for the person who's wearing it. So it senses gaze as whether a good look or a negative look. So if anybody's looking at you in a way that is worrying, the dress will respond in that way, in a particular way. Okay, and here is another 3D printed dress, technology. And this one again, it moves according to the sense of the physiological aspects of the wearer, how she's feeling. Here we have some more designs applying technology to fashion. Another cute circuit dress in the middle. This one's a very interesting, this is called a mood sweater. It's actually quite a dress, and it's quite beautiful, I think. So the hood reflects the wearer's mood. So when she is feeling happy, it's pink or red, as you might expect. And when she's feeling a little bit sad or calm, it becomes blue. Okay, so whether you want to display your emotions like that or not is a matter of debate, but nevertheless, I think it's quite beautiful. And I really do see these fashion items becoming something that is desirable, that people want, but they need to be for most people, not exclusive. Here we have the Ralph Lauren shirt, which monitors heart rate and breathing and so on at the end there. And then we have the umbrella that changes with the weather, so it lights up, which is nice when it's raining. Okay, another application here of fashion by a Dutch designer, Anna Wipprecht. She calls them speaking garments. So this one is the smoke dress. So if somebody comes too near and the person doesn't like them, it emits smoke. The other one is the spider dress, okay, and it's similar to an octopus's, or a squid rather, squid's ink. So if someone comes near, the spider legs emit this kind of spray to deter people coming near. Then we have the designs for young children, for Snapchat users, and these are bracelets for Snapchat. And they light up when a message is coming through, and they can see the images. Very appealing to young consumers. So what we need to do to get the tech into the fashion, into the buying, into the adoption, into long-term adoption, to keep users engaged with the devices that we bring them, or we want them to have and use, we need to use user-centered design, and both speakers have spoken about that. We need to know what the user wants, not what we want, not make assumptions about the user's needs. And the personalization that Tyler spoke about is absolutely key. One size does not fit all. And we're all very, very different. And even mood can change within a moment. And our biorhythms, our physiological data may change depending on the social situation we're in. We might feel very different in a crowd than if we're by ourselves, if we're on a crowded tube, or if we're sitting in a lovely park at sunset, or if we're by ourselves feeling depressed. No, our physiological readings will be different depending on the context. So we need devices that can not only measure our physiological state, but can also take account of and discount the variables that are in the environment and the context and our movements as well. So really complex for technology, really complex for fashion. But user-centered design says don't assume users' needs. Avoid cognitive overload. Exactly again what Tyler said. System 1, System 2, we are lazy thinkers. We don't like to think too much. We want to take the quick route. System 1 thinking, we use the heuristics, the rules of thumb. It gets us there quickly, and most of the time it's fine. So don't give the users too much information. Let them have the information that they need. Draw attention to what matters and allow for safe error recovery. The fear that everything's going to go, I'm going to lose everything if I touch the wrong button or if I do something. Users need to feel confident that the system is robust. Don't expect users to rely on memory. Memory is very fickle, and memory is very short, actually. And there's a myth that we can remember between 7 plus or minus 2. Actually, what we remember is about 4 items. So I'm sure you've all heard of the 7 plus or minus 2. It's actually about 4. And depending on the context, it could be fewer than that. Think about the social elements. How can we engage the social element through our device? How can we maximize the user's competitive element, the fact that they know that they're doing something as part of something else, that there's a bigger something out there than they are. Users want fashion over function, and this is mainly for the younger people. They want something that either looks good or doesn't show at all. They want seamless and effort-free setup and connection, and they want simple, intuitive, and pleasurable interactions. They don't want to be frustrated by the device. They want to make it should be a pleasure, and that's why they'll keep on using it. Personalization and customization are really, really important. So allowing the user to change it according to what they want. So we see now with the smartwatches, you could change the bracelets when you want. You can make them look different. Obviously with smartphones, you get cases and so on. Change those very cheaply, very quickly. And that's what users want. The devices need to be able to be integrated with social media. This will motivate the users for longer adoption. And it should provide regular feedback, so frequent feedback on the small goal attainment, rather than waiting until the user has reached a target which may in fact be unattainable. Now, if my target was to, I don't know, pole vault, that's not going to happen. But if I set myself a target that was just a small step, and I got feedback that I'm reaching those small goals, that's going to help me drive me on to my bigger goal. Users want quality, they want robustness, and they want a lifestyle-compatible device. They want something that fits with their lifestyle, not something that they have to adapt to. And really importantly, they want confidence in the privacy and intimacy, trust and control of the dependency of the device that they're using. They want to be sure that it's safe. Okay, so here are some final thoughts, and this is the hug shirt, which you've probably seen. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a really wonderful thing, if your partner is away from you, you can use an app to, so you hug yourself and it sends a vibration through to your partner wherever they are. How lovely is that? I mean, it might be a bit strange hugging yourself, but I think it's a really nice idea. And there are several haptic devices now. There's, for example, a bracelet which you can touch that sends a vibration to somebody else through an app, which is also lovely. So some final thoughts then. We're moving beyond measuring performance to understanding psychological and social needs. Machines will become more human through the advances in technology and also more fashionable. But I need to say here, fashion isn't perfect. Fashion needs technology as much as technology needs fashion. There are lots of issues in fashion that could be solved with technology. So I think it's a great marriage, a great time for the two to come together. So thank you very much for listening.